Hello and welcome to another edition of the Eternal Journey Thatresolves, and here we are today for a bit of a Q&A. So I did put something out about this on the Eternal subreddit and the Eternal Facebook group. Was actually anticipating doing a video today where I would ask the YouTube people to give me some questions, but because I got so many sort of questions back, and I think it's going to take like 40 minutes to get through. I thought I'm going to do one today. This will be me asking the YouTube people because the community is getting pretty big now. We're up to nearly 1,500. So here's what the content is going to be. If you like it, give me some questions and we'll talk about it. So I'm not sure when that's going to be, but I'll probably have an idea by the end of the video. I am re-recording this bit because this was the shortest section that I could replace because I actually realised I had a bit of blood on me, or jam, I'm not sure, might be juice. But yeah, that is really bothering me while I'm editing the video now to notice that. It's going to bother you now too because I pointed it out. But yeah, I have no idea how to take that out. But anyway, on to the show. Enjoy. Okay, so we've got the first question from Alfredo, and this was from the Facebook Eternal group. And their question was, how often do you lose games due to power flood or screw? Honestly, rarely. So I'll elaborate on this, and it's down to a few things. So the first thing is power level, and the other thing is like the power you've actually got in your deck. So if you're using crests, merchants, transmute power, so that can be the ones that turn into units or weapons, or the ones that turn into actual spells. So like Cobalt Waystone, the Time Monument, those sort of things. So what those in your deck let you have is the ability to play more power, which sort of solves the screw problem, but also play power that does things. So this is going to help you with the flood. So if you're playing a deck that tops out at 4 or 5 and, I don't know, 7 or 8 of the power left in your deck is now spells, it might be overcosted spells. So like the Crown Witch Standard, which turns into +3/+3 and Lifesteal. Like, I mean, that's still a good spell. Most of the time when you're at 5, it doesn't really matter that it costs 2 instead of 3 over Finest Hour. Although the lifesteal effect is often kind of relevant as well, because if you're playing against like a Scarecrow deck or something, you can set this up with like blocks and just make it really awkward for them when you block with your lifesteal and melee for example. The game's probably over at that point. But you want to sort of have that in your deck. So generally, if I'm playing a deck that I want to seriously play on the ladder, I want to get to Masters. So I think right now, if I were to play FGS, I'd probably play 9 Merchants, because then I can play more power in my deck. I've got 8 that can shuffle choke, so I'm going to keep having these cantrips and just be able to keep like getting this value ahead over my opponent. And then if I do flood, it's sort of fine because I'm just going to play this Cho out and then be able to get a bunch of treasures off it. And also be able to play these treasures, so the flooding doesn't feel quite as bad there. So that'll sort of come back to maybe the power level of your deck as well. So outside of just power sinks, like things like Sirath, which we don't really play in our decks anymore, but just power level of just really strong, powerful cards. So what you'll notice is if you play against like the Gauntlet, and the Gauntlet's quite low level, so maybe the set's just happened, or you've not played against Gauntlet for a while, so I think the difficulty resets. Your opponent, the AI, might flood or screw, but it'll seem much worse because what they're doing is just less powerful. So you might both just have like 12 power in play, but your opponent's just miles behind because they've got cards in their deck that don't do anything. So they've got things that just like, you know, dazes a unit, stuns a unit for 1 turn. Like, well, okay, well, you spent a card to not really do anything. Unless you're using that really aggressively just to push damage, then the opponent just didn't do anything. They traded a 1 for 0. Whereas you might have a card like, I don't know, you've got a Tavrod, and your opponent had to use 2 burn spells to kill it. So you've traded your 1 card for 2 of theirs. So even though you're both flooding, you are up on cards or up on the power level of what you're doing. And that's kind of important because I think that a lot of new players get put off because they feel like they're screwing and flooding all the time. But the reality is the deck's just not very powerful because when you start off, you've just got like a bunch of random gumbers. It's just like cards what I own deck, which is fine. You know, that's fair enough. That's where you expect it to be when you first start because you're going to try and work things out. But that's just where you are when you start basically in anything. I'm playing Dauntless, and when I first started playing that game, I just felt like I'm not doing any damage. You know, I'm managing to dodge stuff because I played Monster Hunter, but I feel like I'm not doing any damage, and if I do get hit, I just get wiped out. But the thing is, you're just starting at like a base vanilla level, and you're going to be working towards something. Like, also some deck types feel like they flood or screw a lot more. So if you're playing like a big mid-range deck and you've not got much card draw, but once you get going up to 3 and 4, you really start cooking with gas. If you keep a hand with 2 and you've got no real card selection and it's just sort of, well, what's on top of my deck, I'm just going to put it into play, then you're not going to get there. And then some decks like Skyco Gagro might feel like they are flooding more often, but again, that's just because their power level is just centered around turn 1 and 3. So if you're still drawing powers on like turn 4 and 5, it's like, well, this doesn't do anything. Like maybe it trades some Shugo standards, but at that point you can start having things in your deck like Flame Blast and again Merchants, which will help you, because if you've got Flame Blast in your deck and you drew 7 power, you just like, boom, just going to hit my opponent in the head for 7, and that probably kills them, and that wins the game. That's the important. That's what we want to do. And if you just got like Merchants and you just get to trade this power for something else, even if it's not great, you just like, this is a matchup where Factory Quarter is probably not very good, but it might ding them for 4 damage, then cool. That's better than having a Fire Sigil that was going to do nothing in the entire game. Although generally you are going to try and get something a bit more powerful. So maybe you get like a Long Barrel out and it just gives something +2/+0 overwhelm in the worst case, because they've not got something for you to use the extra ability for. But I think that's where you want to be with your power. So I don't feel like I do lose to it, but then generally I do prefer decks that either have got a lot of card draw, card selection, bunch of Nightfall. That's a really good thing. So generally my Stonescar decks, I'll go down in power than what I think I should. Because I think in the Stonescar mid-range deck, you probably want to be on like 31 power. I think the version I'm playing at the minute, it's got 27 power, 2 of which transmutes. I've got 3 Virus Favors and then 4 Pledge Units, which is Sill, which is kind of expensive card. So if you see that in your open hand, you're just like, well, this is a 5-drop. I'm just going to play this to the power, I feel like that's probably where you want to be. So really, like 35 power, but not all of its power. So the Pledge Units are really powerful, the Nightfall's really powerful. Just ways that keep cards flowing. And sometimes you will feel like flooding just because you've drawn so many cards as well. So if you've constantly got Nightfall going, like in like a Fell Nightfall aggro deck, you don't really need anything that tutors power, because from turn 2 on, or turn 1 onwards, then we've got Shakedown. It's draw 2 cards every single turn. It's unlikely that you're just not going to draw power through that. And then Alfredo's next question, which actually I've spent quite a lot of time on this question, a good couple of minutes, was how did you get into making videos on games? So when I was playing Versus System, I was part of a podcast and did some sort of like articles every now and then. So it's something that I was sort of comfortable doing, but only really because I knew that game quite well. Then this one, I've been playing it since the beta, and I saw Ilion, which is another community member, and they were talking about there's not very many content creators. So I thought, well, I'd like to join in on that because it's something I've done before in the past. So it's about 2 years ago, just started making videos. And if you want to do it, I would recommend it. Also, once you got to the point where you're comfortable with what you're doing, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to sort of bounce some people your way and just be like, hey, check out this person. Their stuff is good. They're just starting. They want to get some sort of following, build a community. But my first videos were awful. I get like 21 views. They were all like 100 hours long because it was just me just like press record. I was going to play games until I feel like it's enough. Like it was like a built-in mic on a headset, which was awful. I think now I'm using a Snowball, which isn't perfect because actually there was a point where my audio was better than this. But I got a new computer and completely lost all of the add-ons that I was using to add some bass and all these other things that were just making the audio like really pop and sound kind of nice. I have no idea how to get them back, so I've just sort of like going with default settings for now, which I really need to get around to just improving that. So that was it. Someone just said there's not many people doing it, so I thought, yeah, I'll do it, And I'm not 100% happy with where I am now, but it's much closer to what I want. I've got some cool things. I've got the green screen. I've got like a nice mic, and it's just more comfortable. It's not like grainy. My computer's kind of powerful as well now, because I did trade up into a better one, and now I can render videos just a lot quicker. So you'll notice that sometimes if I'm in the mood to just make videos, I'll just release one a day for like a week, because it takes 20 minutes to render a video, whereas previously it'd take absolute hours, and it was kind of agonizing. Okay, so the next question was from Marlon, and that's from the Facebook group as well, and they've said, in Eternal, lucky, is it important? And for me, it's a yes, no, maybe kind of answer. in that you are playing a card game. You draw like one card, same as everyone else. If your one card is the exact card that you need, then yeah, lucky was good. But you put that card in your deck, so it can often feel like luck's a thing. But on a long enough timescale, if you're playing your 9 games a day, then over a month, like the luck's going to even out realistically. If you should be in Masters, you will be. Although getting Masters is kind of, I don't know, it feels tedious to get into, but you are able to do it. Like, you just play enough games and you'll get in there. It's really demoralizing to be at like D199 and then just go on a massive losing streak, and then you just lose like 5 games in a row, and then the 6th game, like, you just like keep this. You have to go 6. It's awful. Your opponent's playing like a aggressive deck that's kill you on turn 4, and then you just all of a sudden down to D2. That feels awful, but on a little timeline you'll get there. So I think there are things we can do that sort of reduce luck. I think now we're at a point with power where we probably find we've got crests. If you're playing a free faction deck, you've probably got like 8 or 9 crests in there, so you're a scout and you've got much more manipulation over what's going on. If you're playing Stone Scout midrange, you can play Quarry, which just helps you smooth out your draws. So, I mean, there's nothing you can do about the top of your opponent's deck. If, you're playing against aggressive deck, you've turned the game around, I've just played Avara and my opponent didn't have anything sacrificed, so I've got 5-6. If I survive this turn, I win the game. But then your opponent just like peels Flame Blast and is just like, get you. Or peels like the one card that it needs. There's nothing you can do about that, but that's just like, that was their variance, I guess. So, is luck important? Maybe. I think that your collection is probably more important because you can play more powerful stuff. But and then next one's from Mr. Ben, who actually, I don't think we ever got around to making any content together, but Ben was from when I used to play Versus, and they've asked, when are you coming back to the vastly superior Versus game? And probably not. I would like to. I was national champion in the first year, and then I came second in the second year to someone who I told to come. That was tilting. Could have got like the double, but no, actually, really enjoy playing with Ross, so I'm glad they won that. But yeah, I just don't have a local game store, so I'm probably unlikely to ever play. I'm really behind on sets. I think the last one I got was maybe Legacy, which was where they went back and just added a bunch of power level to some of the early sets. If that game had a digital release, even if it wasn't the same IP, but it was just the same engine, I would snap be playing that, because the actual game engine in Versus system is perfect. It's the best game system I've ever played. It takes a lot of the really good things from WoW TCG and a lot of more modern things as well. It's got a lot of cool break the fourth wall things that I see now, which they generate good stories. It's stuff that realistically, like a mechanical level, it is just like, it does this thing, but it's just like, it explains this thing in a more thematic way. So, for example, like Deadpool in the car set had an ability where if all of your opponent's units were stunned, which was just face down or just not in play, you were able to attack the player. The player was a 0-1. Basically, it meant that you were going to win the game off this button that you were able to press, but your opponent was able to interact with it with plot twists, which are basically the instants and sorceries of that game. So they could give your Deadpool like minus attack or something. But it was just a more thematic way, and just a really interesting thing to do. But yeah, if this game ever had a digital release, I would snap be playing that right now. Probably still be playing Eternal and doing the same sort of stuff, but that would definitely be a priority, because that's just like one of my favourite games I've ever played. Ben gave me a bunch of questions actually, but so that I can get to everyone else's, I'm going to do the rest of Ben's at the end, because that's sort of the order they came in anyway. And then from Reddit, I only got a couple of responses here, but I got one from Jaxis R, and that was, who did the art for your channel? So the art for my channel is about to change, but the art you're talking about is from a person I know locally, and they were at the point where they were trying to build up a portfolio, because I think they were a graphic designer, graphic artist, and I was just like, well, this would help both of us out. I'll give you a few quid and you'll give me some nice artwork, and that'd be perfect. They were actually really great for the entire process. They didn't know about this game, but they looked into it to go and investigate. So that's why on my cover screen, if you see, it's got like the Yetis, because they looked at that and it was like, oh, it's really cool. They saw the card back. So if I was doing a card back now, it'd probably be the one that I actually used. But I think at the time when I got that, I don't think there were different card backs yet. Yeah, but yeah, basically a local friend, but I'm working on something with Platypus King for some new stuff at the minute, just for perhaps some nicer transitions, nicer, just yeah. Platypus is a really talented artist actually. If you've seen the stuff on their channel, they did it all themselves, so I'm pretty looking forward to working on them properly, just to get some sort of like nice title screens perhaps as well. The next question from Reddit was Spiffy Man, who asked, "What's your YouTube channel?" Hey, Sully, you here? Welcome. Tell your friends. You know, like, comment, subscribe, like that smash button and all that stuff. And then from Yotta's Discord, I would recommend joining that if you can. Sangler said, "What got you into Eternal?" And again, this was from Versus System. I was preparing for. I don't think we knew about Nationals and Versus yet. I think we were just playing for Star Kits, perhaps. I had a friend of mine, Lee, who actually built the deck that I won the Nationals with. We just said, "Oh, I'm playing this game. It's got this cool Feln sort of like it was Party Hour. It's got this cool Feln deck that is doing all this stuff. You just play this champion, you play this scouting party, and then you just kill your opponent." I was like, "That sounds fantastic." So I started playing from that actually. That's why I've got the cool card back. And Speedy says, "Why aren't you a streamer?" And it's the time commitment. I think that I'm kind of comfortable in my job, and doing this as like a hobby that I don't really have to do. I think that when you go into streaming, it turns it the other way around, where you're sort of expected to be there for like a full day's work, which is just, it just wouldn't fit with my lifestyle. I got a kind of tame lifestyle at the minute. I'll pick up again with conferences and stuff, but yeah, it's just too much of a time commitment. If I was on, it'd be on at like GMT 5 till 6, and that'd be all I could do. Whereas like if I'm doing a video, I can stop and start, you know, I can go and do other things, I can come back and finish a video. So you might notice like sometimes I'll start a video and it'll be like the morning time, and then later on in the video it'll be like an hour later, because yeah, I've just had to go and do something. But I think that YouTube fits around my lifestyle much more. Also, you know, it kind of nice to be on Twitch because there's some like monetary value to it, because you can get subscribers and stuff like that. There's nothing like that on YouTube, I don't think, unless you get really big, which is unlikely with card games in 2019. I think unless you're playing Arena, that's just, it's not going to happen. Or Hearthstone, I guess. Yeah, that's basically it. And I think that YouTube as a medium is better for the game than Twitch, because it isn't just there for the couple of hours that you're on. So like Yotbite streams for 4 to 8 hours, but if Yotbite's not on, the Yotbite doesn't exist, which is weird to consider, because this is like one of the biggest streams the games has got. If they're online, they've got probably more people watching them than are playing the game, and that's real viewers, because the drop system isn't really rewarding anymore. It's like, oh, watch it because I want to now, which is much better than it was, but the chat is also very active as well, which is something that you don't really see. So there are ups and downs, but I think that just YouTube being a more permanent record. So if someone just like looks up this game, they go, "Eternal card game," it's like, "Oh, cool, there's a bunch of people that make videos here. This one's been making videos for years. I can go and just like binge this for a bit and see what these decks are all about." Yeah, the permanence, I think, is it, because there's a record of things that were in the past. So you can go on my channel, you can look at videos from when old Vara, Big Vara, 8-drop, was old Vara. You can see me playing like the reanimated decks, and you can see what that was like, and comparing that to the new ones, it's very different. The new ones are very powerful at making Azendale, but the other one was just like, it's nearly incidental. It was like, this is a Scream deck that's got some Nightfall elements to it. It's aggressive, so it's not like if your opponent's beating you down, you're just a dead fish. You're just like, "Oh, well, I was hoping to make an Azendale on 5 and hope that was good." It's like, I'm going to make a Gorgon Fanatic, and I'm going to make a Rindra, I'm going to attack you. I'm going to be doing all these things that are progressing my game plan. And if you try and interact with me, like with Harsh Rule, I'm just going to play Vara and put everything back into play, and a lot of it's going to have charge and flying, so you're just dead no matter what. yeah, being a historical record, I think it's better for marketing. It disappoints me that it feels like Direwolf don't care about anyone on YouTube whatsoever. I feel like my reach can be just as much as a streamer. But yeah, I guess Twitch is the future. But yeah, I'm old. I don't need the future. So I'll come back to more questions from Ben now. And what's your favourite card? And I'll be honest, Macto, 100%. I played it instead of Tavrod most of the time in Orange Part, especially when Tavrod started hitting less because we were playing less Minotaurs and we were playing less weapons. Because I prefer Macto as like the grindy engine. Because even if your opponent kills it, like you can play a Tavrod, it was hard for your opponent to kill, but they could. If your opponent kills Macto though, like you still get to do stuff because Macto's going to come back and eventually it's going to grind your opponent out. And I preferred the flying gameplay as well. So my Archpot decks were more centered around flying. So I play like Impending Doom into Macto, which was just like really aggressive and in the air. And I felt like that was more consistent with just winning more games realistically because you're able to fly over your opponent. That's probably changed now, but yeah, Macto was 100% my favourite card. I would like to see that story continued. We've got story cards around Macto. We've got Last Chance and End of the Story, which sort of show like Macto's fall from grace. Like, also, I didn't realise Macto was a bad guy until he carried his campaign. But I guess it should have been obvious from him being an Inquisitor. But yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see the end of that story, although it's probably going to be like, because I think Last Chance gives you Voidbound, it's basically going to be like a 5-cost 5/5, and his wings are broken, so no flying. It's going to be a 5-cost for 5 vanilla. That's going to be so annoying to me. Whereas, yeah, I'd hope that it was a little bit more exciting than that. My least favourite card is probably related to my most favourite card, and that is In Cold Blood. So it might not be great now. I mean, you can still put it in the market, I guess, but I just don't like that the ceiling on a removal card can be that it either 2-for-1s your opponent, which you can do because, you know, we've all got full collection, we're playing 4 of everything. If on free you play a Valkyrie Enforcer and I In Cold Blood it and I get a card out of your hand, that's disgusting. And I get every Valkyrie Enforcer from your deck as well, that's just not fair. You're down on cards from my removal spell. That's not the line that I think is acceptable. I guess it was to like keep Tavrod down, but Tavrod's pretty down now because even the 2-cost primal spell, Ice Bolt kills it. So it's like, whatever. In Cold Blood, I would much prefer there was a revision to that card where it was either heavier in shadow, so it's triple shadow, which is a real commitment, or I don't know, your opponent draws a card for any card that they discard. I think that would have been like the cleanest and best way to remove it. And also it can just invalidate an entire strategy. I played against a Hero of the People deck in Masters. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then they played Hero of the People and didn't have Protect up, so I just In Cold Blooded it. And then their strategy is basically 71 cards that make Hero of the People good and 4 Hero of the People in the Void that are Void bound. I was just like, cool, that was an excellent gameplay experience for everyone because now my opponent's not got a deck anymore. Cool. And then the next question was, if you had one buff on nerf to hand out, what gets it and why? So the basic answer is going to be Semway Smuggler, just to have an ability or stats. So either a free or just have Warcry, because it feels like it's got this shift synergy. It synergizes with shift, I guess, but there's not really many spells that actually care about it. I mean, I guess it's the 2-cost burn spell, but then what else in Stone Sky are you playing that's got shift? Unless it's a campaign that busts it, like we did with Pledge. It's unlikely, so I'd much rather it just was like a vanilla free, or it had Warcry. I think Warcry is really good. That is base 2. I mean, it kind of lives in Stone Sky and Volcano, but I think there'd be reason to have it. I would like that, but yeah, it just feels like having shift is so weird. It's like having a merchant with Pledge, so it doesn't make sense. It's like an actual mechanic. I get that there are some of the like the cooler, more off the wall things, like the Elysian Merchant. If you've got a relic, it does stuff, but the relic's kind of like, yeah, I can get that off Teacher. There are things in my factions that do that. It just doesn't feel like there's that for the Stone Scar Smuggler. But real talk, Rista to be able to block, or just make, if it has to have a smaller stats to be able to do that, I'm fine with a 3-cost 2/2 that can block, and when you play a power, it gets +2/+1 Warcry. Fine with that. It's like Amber Acolyte with extra text, because let me tell you, when you don't have a powerful wrister, it's fucking miserable. It's just this 2/3 can't block, can't attack, can't block. Just my permafrosted unit that drew me a card. Great. I played Amber Acolyte. Yeah. In terms of which has been your favourite meta, I think there's been a few over the times. So there was like a cycle that happened every now and then where we would play sort of progressively more mid-range decks until like we were playing a Legion because we wanted Cerso because it beat everything in Praxis. That's the sort of cycle I like. But in terms of actual metas, I really like the old FGS meta where we all had cookbooks. This was pre-Smugglers and Cho. So we're all just like cooking our books. It was absolutely fantastic. I had a great time. That was when I was more consistently in higher rankings as well. But yeah, I just enjoy those sort of grindy sort of FGS Jundy mirrors against other players. I was like a big player of I forgot, used to play Magic when Abzan was big. Really enjoyed playing Abzan, just grinding each other out. I was both sitting there playing like Read the Bones and Siege Rhinos. Oh, that was the one. Yeah, back to the first point where I was like, which cycle matter was after people were able to play like a Legion, play for Cerso, you were then able to, as like the meme player, play Crown of Possibilities because at that point people were just being slow enough that you could get away with doing that. You could just do absolutely absurd stuff. It was fantastic. And then I guess I really enjoyed as well when Argenport was the big thing. So right after Horus Trava, everyone was playing Argenport. I enjoyed those mirrors as well. But I generally enjoy aggressive mid-range decks anyway, so of course we're going to enjoy that. I get to play with things like Bartolo, which you don't get to play with anymore because it costs 4. That could probably come back to being 3, but especially with like Vara and stuff, you're just like, nice 2/2, like, put whatever weapon you want on it and kill it. And then ranking campaigns in order of which has the best story to worst. So, outside of the Ikari one, I don't really know the story because this last one with like Svetcha, I was just like, this story's awful. I just skipped through all of it. I just wanted my cards. Honestly, I would care about the story more if, as soon as you bought the campaign, you got all the cards. You just got to play with them. Apart from maybe the story ones, but even then, that's kind of sketchy. And you played to either unlock the premiums or, just for whatever reason. Because I think then I would care more about the story because I wouldn't just be like, I need to click through every single conversation here so I can get cards and make content. But I suppose I'll go and have a look. So, actually, let me get out of this. Actually, I was tempted to play that event. I played one run. It was interesting, but also it kind of had a lot of feel bads in it. So, guess in terms of campaigns, I think that's a tutorial. So we'll rank that at the bottom. I think Horus Travel was sweet. Whoops. Vara's story was sweet. Dead Reckoning annoyed me because it killed off, like, at the time, one of the favourite characters, but then that Ikari got nerfed, so, Now Digital killed Ikari twice. Cool. Homecoming, honestly, don't remember any of the story whatsoever. And then, I guess, it's Jack's Bounty, which I'm just like, Jack is just the most medium character ever. Actually, this screen's kind of nice, just like 3 of my favourite characters. Let's get back the notes. So, yeah. But in terms of story, I would like to see one that's about Macto, about their journey, because we've seen in the cards, like, something happens to them. Macto loses his wings. How does that happen? I have no idea. I mean, maybe it's in these lore sections, maybe it's in the lore stories by Mantid Man, but I have no idea. It's just like, not going deep reading those things. So, I would probably pay attention to the story then. Especially if I've got like 1 or 2 Macto themed cards or just like Argenport in general. And again, has Dire Digital dropped a nerf that ruined a deck for you? Yes. When Power Surge got changed, my 2 favourite decks were Armory, which at the time was going down to only playing 1 Charge Chain Flail anyway, and aggressive decks that played Flame Blast. So yeah, that ruined. In fact, that didn't even just ruin my decks, that ruined my collection because that was everything that I'd built my decks around. And then again, I took a little bit of a break. I was playing a Stone Sky mid-range deck when I first started playing, which had Soulfire Drake because it used to cost 5 and only have double fire requirements, and Umbran Reaper at 5, which was, well, it still cost 5, but it only had 2 shadow requirements. and there was, outside of like Desert Marshal, I think there was a lot less silence. So yeah, I was playing that, and then when I came back, both of those were then like triple factional crowns. Like, why can't I play my spells anymore? I was like, oh, that was kind of tedious. But yeah, most of the nerfs that bother me are going to be around Stone Scar. So Pyro Knight costing like one more to ultimate. But yeah, they ruined collections rather than decks. Then Ben asks, which was the most needed balance adjustment? And for this one, there's no real specifics. I'd say that anything that has hit Temporal or decks like Temporal has been good in my book. I hated the player experience from that. I hated playing against it, even though I did enjoy playing with it. I felt that it was just net negative enough that one player wasn't getting to play for so long that it was just not worth having that card, that game play experience exist. Another one was, maybe a more tangible one, was the Talia combo nerf, where Talia just got fundamentally changed into pretty much a different card through sort of like a rules change, and that was that you would know if your board was full, you won't play any Destiny units, which I mean, maybe that's got like a side effect on cockroaches, but that's not the reason no one's playing that deck anymore. But yeah, that gameplay experience was also kind of awful, like from both sides, because even if you go off, so your opponent could have conceded and left the game. So that's the thing that happens in this game, where if your opponent can see you've got the win, you've got whatever combo, they concede the game, but your combo is still going through actions. You won't win the game. You'd have to wait until all of your actions stopped. And with Talia combo, you'd pretty much have to go through it until you'd won before it'd tell you, which was kind of tedious. It's just not a good play experience. Although I did actually really get up to enjoying that deck quite a lot. Like, if I were to be sort of have a relaxed time on the ladder, I'd just go and play Talia combo because it was sort of solitaire. Most of the time, your opponent couldn't kill you before you got to go off because you had ramp, and last chance meant that you could go off an 8, which, you know, because you just play Talia, you just last chance gets a Railer Merchant into play, and then you go off. It's like that. It was nice. But I'll counter this with I'd prefer to see more balance patches. And not ones where we just nerf a bunch of things or give them sideways buffs where this thing now costs one more but it gets +1/+1, because I don't think that's a balance. Like Highwayman costing one more and get +1/+1, that's still a nerf because I don't think that's good enough. I think like +1/+2 would have been close to it. Like turn it into basically a dragon, that would have been fine, but yeah. I did like what they did with Paliso. They turned it into fundamentally like a different card that's for a different deck, but yeah, I would rather see a bunch of buffs around. I'd like to see the cards' insights change periodically, just to sort of change things up a bit. I guess as long as you are around a general idea of what the site does. So like the 7-cost Shadow one, Diesel's Office, I probably want to have a removal spell in there, but maybe that removal spell changes into a different one. You know, maybe it changes into one that's more specific for a change. Maybe the one from Howling Peaks turns into one that's less specific. Maybe instead of Gundown, that becomes Ice Bolt. You know, just changes around that just able to really minor changes. You still get the same effect, but there's a little bit of a different thing going around. Also, kind of like that, Ice Bolt is, I think it's an island themed card, but it's got like the Caleb's Choice, which is hit you, I gain a power. Like the removal spell is hit your thing, you gain a power. I like, it's still got some sort of synergy around it, that not synergy per se, but it's like between the theme or the thematic building of the actual card. But yeah, more buffs would be great. I think I can probably like line some up. Like I think Rista should block. That's just, you know, not even close to being untrue. I'd like to see more insignias, but I'm sure there's like a legendary new card I'd like to see buffed. Well, I mean, this got buffed, I guess, but it still costs like 10 to do the thing. And do you want to play rats there? There was someone I was thinking of that I actually wanted to see buffed, but so I suppose, well, I just switched everything over to Rares and Premiums. I suppose I'd like to see something like Icaria Valkyrie Captain. Each Valkyrie in your hand and deck +1/+1 would be fine. I think that'd promote sort of like maybe an Argent part Valkyrie's deck, because then you're able to give the buffs to Macto, which would be They're kind of anti-thematic because they had a bit of an argument, but that's a bit cool. Yeah, generally I think I'd prefer to see buffs. So we had Mask of Torment, and this got buffed several times, and it's still like, it's fine. You know, you could play a deck of rounds if you want. You're probably not going to now because there's no insignia for like this faction pair. So unless you're playing this in a free faction deck, you're just unlikely to. But this cost 5 at one point. I guess when it got buffed to 4, it was kind of a nerf because now you could hit it with Banish. But yeah, and then it paid 20 to play the Torment. It used to be 25. So this has dropped a power here, dropped 5 power here. I think that I'm happy this got buffed again, and this was no longer an ultimate, but you paid 25 to play the Tormentor, and each time you did it, it cost 5 more. I think that'd be fine, like an actual win condition around this card that is, if you get disrupted on Mask of Torment, and this is your only win condition, you get real disrupted, so you get punished. Also, I like to see the Spitelings in play, because in set 1, I think right towards the end, before set 2, I didn't really know what to do with my collection. I started playing Xena mid-range, and I think the win condition was Whispers of the Void, and that was really good because other people were still playing Armory, and Armory couldn't beat that card. I mean, I guess if they were playing Stew in the past, but most of them, I don't think they were. They played like Maiden maybe, but yeah. That looks like all the questions I've got for today, so if you've got any more, drop them in here. Well, if you enjoyed the video, I guess. Drop them in here and I'll get around to them. I'll see how quickly they collect. If it's not many, I'll run it and it'll be like in 2 weeks. So it'll be end of the month. So we're talking like the 29th of June. If it's kind of slow to pick up. If it's a little bit slow, I might go to like 6th of July. But if it's really quick, I might do it next week. So this probably isn't going to be something that I'm going to do like every week or every month, but it's something that I might do just to check in with everyone, just if there's any questions or about what's going on in the game. I do feel like we could do some more advertising at the minute because, yeah, the Steam numbers have not looked great. For me, I've talked enough nonsense. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.